Let me share it.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Women's History Month. This is the first week of the weekly roundtables that I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to be highlighting different women, different aspects of being a woman and being a female, such as motherhood, running a business, being a professional. So thank you, everybody on TikTok. Thank you, everybody on Instagram and on Facebook who are watching and will soon to be watching. Today's a really exciting panel because we're going to talk to women about being lawyers and about running our own businesses and about what our experience was as an associate, how our experience currently is with the practice of the law. So without further ado, Chanela, you're the first one that I see. Chanela, can you tell us where you're from, what area of law you practice, and what's your favorite film?
Okay, so my name is Shinala Kobondo. I am Nigerian, but I'm from New York City, the Bronx to be specific. Currently, I live in Miami and work for the law firm of Friedman, Rodman, and Frank, where I practice DBA law, which is basically dealing with the Defense-Based Act. For simpler ways to describe it, let's think workers' compensation for international clients. So I deal with a lot of clients in Europe, Africa, and other continents as well. My favorite movie, I would have to say, is Titanic. It's Titanic. I'm sorry. Classic.
So what is the controversy with Titanic? Like, did Rose drown or did she not drown?
No, Rose, I feel like let her future husband drown because they both could have ended up on that piece of log that she also was, resting on. So, yeah.
So she abandoned him. Preserved herself.
First. That's right. You have to help yourself first before you can help others. So
That's true.
It's okay for this month. I get her.
Louisa, tell us where you're from, what area of law you practice, and what's your favorite film?
Okay, so I'm Nigerian as well. I'm based and live in Texas. Currently, I'm an immigration attorney, and previously, I did financial crimes attorney. I was a financial crimes attorney for HSBC for a really long time, and I enjoyed that tremendously. So let's see. My favorite, I don't have a favorite movie. I would say my favorite show is The Office. And that's something I watch all the time, but no favorite movie.
I love The Office too. I think it's my paralegal's favorite show. She loves The Office as well.
I know. My husband gets tired of me watching it over and over.
My husband's into that Larry David comedy. But I never got him into The Office. He never got into it. So coming in and out is Isabella. I know her camera's not working, but she just
fa la domanda, sì, rimani fermo.
Isabella, we're live. Do you want to tell us where you're from, what area of law you practice, and what your favorite film is?
So, as you know, I'm Italian, and now actually I'm also U.S. citizen. I arrived in the U.S. 11 years ago with a background as a lawyer. I got my jurisprudence degree from the University of Perugia, and I went to college in the 90s, so I work a lot as a lawyer in Italy as well. And my favorite movie, I don't know, guys, but yesterday night I saw Cyrano, and it's so beautiful. It's a musical, very intense, very beautiful, great actor, and I'm surprised that he's not in the list of the Academy for the next Oscar night. So now this movie, I really recommend this movie.
I think Cyrano is not in the list of Oscar contenders because of when it came out. There's specific rules to be considered an Oscar contender. You have to have been showed in X number of theaters.
Okay.
And it has to be of a certain time, a specific time period. So I think Cyrano was just released. but I'm not too sure.
Mhm.
So for me, for you guys who are watching but probably don't know me, my name is Elektra. I practice immigration law with a focus on artist visas. So I am known by my clients as the artist visa lawyer. My favorite film has to be Kids by Larry Clark. Larry Clark is a director, but he's also a photographer. He also did a fantastic film called Bully. And for those of you who don't know, I have a film degree, so I spent a lot of time before becoming a lawyer working in film, TV, and theater. And then I went off to Europe and got a law degree and worked in Europe as well in a different field. Like Louisa, I worked in international business transactions on behalf of different European companies in the UK, Spain, France, and Italy. So I'm very excited because I think that it's really, really important to highlight women professionals, especially women professionals of color, women lawyers who are immigrants, because the statistics are really skewed, not in our favor. So I think it's important to showcase and to highlight our personal trajectory to becoming a lawyer so that those who are watching and young women of color, immigrant women who are watching us can see themselves in us. So Louisa, do you want to tell us about how you became an attorney? If you went to law school in Nigeria and then you went to law school in America, if you maybe you didn't practice in Nigeria.
How did I become an attorney? I did. Well, I went to law school in Nigeria. I got my law degree in Nigeria, and then I went to United Kingdom, where I
Oh,
did a master's program, and then that was when I first got into the financial crimes world. I got my first compliance job. We did anti-money laundering. I did that in the UK with a bank, and then I moved on to the US and had another master's degree from Washington University in St. Louis, which is a renowned school. And then I did the New York bar and then eventually the Texas bar. So practicing has been very interesting for me. It's basically been three continents, um, learning different laws, and now New York and then back in Texas. So it's been very interesting. Now doing federal immigration law has been an eye opening, very enlightening, and being able to help people because I'm really passionate about immigration law, just as well as I was passionate about doing financial crimes and white collar crimes as well.
why did you want to become a lawyer?
Good question. I think it for me it's the ability to advocate for others. And I think I started doing that as a child. I always felt that I could speak well or strongly for other people. And that for now, I see that and having immigration clients, um, I always see myself in that we are able to advocate for our clients and help them their right to remain in the US, get them to be able, especially when we have those difficult cases, that when those clients actually eventually get their residency, they feel like you've done the best for them because this is the country they've known, this is where they want to reside, or this is where their family is. And that passion has always been with me, even as a child, being able to advocate, help people that I feel that they're not able to speak up for themselves, help them actually get what the results that they want. And I think that's what's driven me all the while.
That's fantastic. Chanel, do you want to tell us about your legal journey, the academic portion and also the professional portion?
Yeah, so actually, I think my mom being a Nigerian attorney, I think was what kind of led me down that path because I had someone who already had the experience. And so she basically told me after I received my bachelor's in criminal justice, why don't you just get your law degree? Because that degree in of itself, you can do a lot of things with it. So you're not stuck. Don't think you have to be a lawyer. So when I first became interested in it, I really even didn't want to be a lawyer at first. Just knowing that it would give me multiple opportunities in that same space was one of the reasons why I joined it. And so when I went to law school, which was very hard my first year, because they tell you your brain changes and you don't realize it. You stop looking at things the same way that you did, and you can never go back. So that first year, trying to transition from a layperson's brain to an attorney brain, I think once that switch was made, my mind was just blown away and I was sold. So I decided to stay in Florida since that's where I went to law school. And I didn't go back to New York, where I'm originally from. But I still plan on taking the New York bar, just because my family's there, and one of the reasons I became an attorney is to be able to help them legally should they need any legal assistance. Why pay for an attorney when you have one in your home? So I still want to get that degree, but right now the Florida weather is so good to me. It's been very tempting, and yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Isabella, why did you become a lawyer, and can you talk to us about your journey to becoming a lawyer?
So I decided to be a lawyer because my dream was to fight for rights, and so when you are 19, this is a good thing. But the jurisprudence degree was pretty tough, to be honest. I studied a lot. I studied all my life, basically. And in the 90s, when I was in college, I noticed that there were a lot of male professors and less female. But among the students, there were more girls than boys, and we were pretty good. I noticed also that now there is a switch. If you go to court, if you go to a lawyers' meeting in Italy, there are more women than men. And I think we are also pretty good. My background as a lawyer in Italy is a commercial. I did a commercial law, company law. I used to work with American clients in this international law firm in Rome. And my boss for 7 years is a woman, a very good lawyer. And in the law firm, we were more women than men. So this was very, very interesting. In my 30s, I decided to came here in the US with my husband, and based on my experience with US clients in Italy and Europe, I decided to create this business. This is a consultant and a legal activity for Italian and European entrepreneurs when they arrive in this new market. And so I'm working in outsourcing with CPA, with lawyers, with other consultants that can support a new business here. And the main task for me is to explain to this European entrepreneur that here to do business is different from Italy and from Europe. This is my main work, actually. But my background as an Italian and European lawyer is pretty strong and very, very useful. So all the time I spent on the books in Italy, it worth. Today it worth for sure.
That's great. I think that it's great that you were able to reinvent yourself and still utilize your legal background here in the US to continue to serve clients. It's interesting how you made a shift from serving American clients in Italy to now serving Italian clients in the US.
Yeah, they have some points in common. So this is why my experience as a lawyer in Italy, it means a lot, because first of all, the Italian entrepreneur, they have a sort of, they respect me more because of I'm a lawyer. I saw the difference with my competitors about this. And then the background in dealing with contracts with American companies is very useful. And yes, I think this career change for me was difficult, but I can see this change with some positive thing, even if it was pretty scared at the beginning.
Thanks for sharing that. I just want to take a quick break and thank everybody on TikTok who's watching us, everyone on Facebook and on Instagram. Thank you for watching. Again, this is the first week of my roundtables for Women's History Month. And today we are talking to women lawyers and what their experiences are. I think that I am the anomaly out of all of you. I actually did not want to be a lawyer growing up. My grandfather is a judge, was a judge before he passed away. And on my father's side, I come from a family of attorneys. My dad is from Côte d'Ivoire, so everyone back there, they're all attorneys. And my aunt actually took over my grandfather's law firm. But I was not very interested in that growing up. I was more interested in theater. So my mom always told me growing up, you know, you love talking, you love being around people, you know, you should consider law school. And I really didn't until I graduated from college and I wanted to continue to pursue the arts. And I was like, okay, I think I will go to law school and get a law degree to be a producer. I wanted to produce films and I wanted to have that business and that legal background to really support my creativity, because I know that I'm very creative and I know how to tell a story. I just wanted to have that added expertise to kind of legitimize myself within the field, because at the time when I graduated college, I was only 20. So I wanted that added legitimacy to my career. And then I started studying international law and public law, and I eventually worked in Europe and then came back here, where I chose to continue to work with artists and specialize in my work with international artists and creatives and entertainers and performers. So I didn't want to be a lawyer. So for those of you who are watching, it's okay if you're not one of those people who doesn't think about the law or doesn't think about helping people or saving people. You will eventually find your calling if assisting people through the legal field is something that you are meant to do. It will eventually come to you when you have the maturity and the strength to recognize that that's your place in the world. And that's fine. Isabella, you mentioned something really interesting about working for a woman. Have any of you, like Chanello and Louisa, have you worked for women? I've never, before I owned my own firm, I always worked for male partners.
I used to work for this law firm founded a long time ago in the 70s, and the founder partner, there were women among them. And then in the office in Rome, there was this lawyer. She's very good in company law, administrative law, and she was my boss for 7 years. And she's good. I learned a lot from her.
Louisa, did you ever work for a female partner?
No, I've never been that lucky.
Chanello?
Yeah, I currently work for an amazing, I call her Beyonce. Like, she's amazing. That's the first female boss I have ever worked for. And our whole department is nothing but women, all women attorneys. And you would think, yeah, you would think normally, oh my gosh, because, you know, women tend to get crazy. But because we're all from different cultures and different continents, it gels so well. And then knowing that the leader, usually when you work for typically male bosses, you tend to find yourself kind of doing more of the work and then having them kind of just dealing with the spoils. But this is a woman that's actually leading by example. You know, if she's staying up at 2 a.m. working, that motivates me to stay up to 2 a.m. working, because my boss is literally putting in what exactly she's trying to teach you. So I think this is the first time, and probably one of the reasons why I shut down my trademark practice to join her practice, to not only, of course, increase my knowledge in that specific legal base, but the work environment itself is so motivating, and it reminds me that women can work together when you bring the right ones, you know, to the table. So I love it.
Louisa, working with financial crimes, I'm going to assume that it was a male-dominated industry. How were you able to successfully navigate those spaces?
Well, I think once again, yes, it was male dominated. We only had very few female attorneys. I want to say it were just two of us in the entire workplace. And I think being able to advocate for yourself, also speak up against injustices. That was one thing I've never been afraid of. I would always call them out, my bosses, my colleagues, and I would tell them when I feel that something wasn't going right in the office, or I feel that I should the feedback that I'd gotten from my boss wasn't fair. I would always speak up against it. And I think one major thing was we supporting each other. That's my other female colleague. I would speak up for her and she would do the same for me. So the fact that we worked together was always something that uh, the men in the office would always, if they wanted to do something, they would always consider the fact that the two female attorneys would always jointly speak up against whatever they were doing. And 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 it was, I think one big thing for us was that we also had a woman. She wasn't in the office, she was in another office in New York. But she was one person that always um, she would always reach out to us. We sort of looked up to her as a leader, and it was good to know that we had this female up there in leadership that we could always express our concerns with, and that helped a lot. So I think just being able to advocate, never being afraid of that, the man. I think the biggest challenge is women accepting that is a male-dominated world and accepting the inequality. But if you're brave enough to speak up, advocate, and support each other, it always does make a huge difference.
And I think you bring up a really important point about supporting and advocating and sponsoring. What are ways that we as attorneys can support young attorneys who are navigating in the new legal profession? Like, what are things that we can do to be supportive to them? Chinelo, how do you support your female colleagues?
This one is hard because I try to think about when I was starting off, which is, of course, not too long ago because I still consider myself a baby attorney. When I was starting off, there were some punches that I had to take. You know what I mean? And I don't mean literal punches, but there were some pills I had to swallow in order to get myself to where I needed to get to. But there was always a game plan in my head, and it was always to make sure I got what I needed out of the situation. And then when it no longer served me, kind of move on to my next challenge. So I would say persistence, as long as you know what you bring to the table, as long as you know the value you're worth. I think no matter what anyone does to kind of shake that foundation, it will be pretty difficult as long as you're pretty strong in yourself and what you bring to the table. So I would say just being very confident in yourself and being persistent. Don't give up. There's more than one way to skin a cow. If you're unable to do it one way, try a different way. Because I think as women, we tend to be very intuitive. So I would say that would be my advice, is just to be confident and persistent.
Solid advice. Isabella, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think that can be useful to share our mistakes, because from the mistakes we can learn a lot. Especially what Chinelo was saying, that is this attitude that women have to underestimate themselves, especially when we are talking about money and about negotiating our value, our fees. I learned a lot from this because I saw my male competitors. Their value is not like mine, but they are richer than me. So what I learned is to negotiate and to ask for fair fees. And this is the first thing that I can recommend. Because for me it was a huge mistake. And then we had to think about also to our skills. So usually women are good listener. I discovered this now because I have all my clients are male for some reason, and especially those who are younger than me. I behave them means that they ask me everything before to start some strategic decision, and this is good. So this means that I'm a good listener. I can advise them on all the panorama of their business, not only on contracts or something very specific. Well, the problem is when you have some old cookie clients because they think that their products, their services are so good, but it's not. So I learned to be very patient with these people.
My advice is not necessarily for the young associates starting out. I think that right now there's a lot of resources and a lot of literature out there about sponsorship and support, especially at the big law firm level. My advice is because the problem with women in the legal profession is not that we start off in low numbers. We actually start off in very large numbers, right? As associates, it's when we start to get married and have families that we no longer end up in leadership positions because we have other competing interests. So my advice for women within the legal profession is when you do get to that point in your life where you're going to take things to the next level within your personal life, don't forget that you were a lawyer before, and that your experience as a woman and a partner and a mother is only going to enrich your practice even more. And it is so important. My husband always says, we chose professions where we can work until we're 85, right? Being a lawyer never goes out of style. So it's really important, I think, to see older women within the profession who are juggling all of these competing interests, such as, family, spouse, all these different competing interests that we as women have to deal with uniquely in our situation. As a young woman, I think that when you're starting off in your career, you do have the support from your colleagues. You probably will end up working for a woman. You have all of those resources, but I think that as women get older, and this is in every industry, they tend to be forgotten. And there are less resources put into place to support maybe an older associate who might want to go on the partnership track, but maybe she had a kid and wants to stay home for a little bit. How do we support that attorney? And I don't necessarily know the answers, but I think that we should be having those conversations too, because the older you get in whatever field you're in, the more competing interests you have. It's very difficult to find a young, fresh baby attorney who has a kid, a spouse, and a career to think about. Whereas maybe when you're like 35, 40 plus, you do have those competing interests. And unfortunately, I don't think that there are resources or support systems in place to make it so the woman attorney comes back to the firm. So I think it's important to note that on the panel we have three of us who run our own firms, and Chanel, you are an associate. Can you talk to us about being an associate and the partnership track, how difficult it is to become a partner as a woman lawyer if you feel that there are difficulties?
Yeah, I would say, of course, I've tried both ends, having my own firm and working for other firms. And the good news is you can always have your own firm. There's no end date on starting your own business. You could say, not right now, I'll pick that up in 5 years. Let me just get this done first. So my track kind of has been different. I wanted to kind of be challenged a little bit more. So I decided to put that on hold and then decide to work for this amazing firm, where they tend to see your value regardless of your extremities, like as far as race, your age, your gender. I tend to kind of gravitate towards firms or colleagues that have similar morals and values that I do. And so when I found this firm, it was almost like a gem. They all align with my goals and my aspirations. It doesn't take that long to climb the ladder per se, as you know. Some companies, they tend to promise you some things and then you've been there for 20 years and you're still stuck in the same position. That's not the case usually here. So I would say when you do your due diligence in looking for that partnership, if you do want to go down that route. Make sure that you guys align with not just the legal side, but also, in my opinion, the personal side as well. What makes you who you are, I think, determines who you are as an attorney in your professional setting. So I did my due diligence, and it just ended up working out better for me at this stage of my life. Maybe later on, I will go back down to my solo practice route. But right now, this partnership has been working great for me because I got to find people that actually aligned with the same things that I was aligned with. So I think that that's the main thing for partnerships.
Isabella, do you want to talk about the differences of working for a firm in Italy versus running your own company here in the US?
Well, in Italy, I used to work with a pretty large law firm. It was organized like the American firm. So we had an office in Rome, in Milano, in Belgium, in Moscow, and we had clients from all around Europe and the US. I decided for a personal choice to emigrate here in the US. But at the same time, I was really interested in creating something for my own. And it was tough, but at the end is very rewarding because now I'm also doing a sort of selection between my clients because from my website, I receive emails every day, every kind of business when I arrive here in the US. But what I'm focused on small, medium companies, and especially those who does something good for the world. So, for example, now I have gluten-free products. Products without allergies to distribute to everyone. So an inclusive food that can add something good in this world. And so I'm more selective on this, especially because in Italy, my best client were pharmaceutical industries and cigarette, other kind of company that I didn't like so much. So doing this selection is better for me and for everyone.
Louisa, do you want to tell us about your experience working in-house at a bank? What's the in-house experience compared to running your own practice?
Well, it's very different. Well, now I'm my own boss. So working in-house means that there are a lot of rules, there are a lot of regulations that you have to comply with. And there are certain times that there are regulations that I did not agree with and which I did speak up against, and they were able to change it. Take, for instance, I remember that we were having to report a lot of clients that were making transactions from Nigeria to, they were making transfers from Nigeria, from Nigerian banks to foreign banks, especially Chinese banks. Now, you do know that every dollar that is being transferred out of the US, even if this monies are going from, let's say, Africa, somewhere in Africa to somewhere in Asia, because the prevalent currency is dollars, it must be cleared through the United States, which means that the bank situated in the United States must comply with anti-money laundering regulations to ensure to know where that money is coming from and where the money is going through. So this transactions being made from Nigeria, they kept reporting this monies as being, they were flagging them as violating the AML rules. And these transactions were made in 10,000. It's not sure if you understand what structuring is, which is every currency, every transaction made over $10,000 has to be reported. So the bank kept flagging this fund. So you would have one businessman in Nigeria making this transaction through the bank, let's say 50,000, and they would make it 5 times. And so they kept doing this flagging this transaction. And I went to meet my boss then. I said, no, you have to understand where these transfers are being made, that the banks were actually the ones making those people make those transactions as 5 transfers rather than just one. So, and it took a while, a lot of back and forth. But as a woman, as a Black woman, initially, my boss did not want to understand what I was saying because that's the bias there. You're talking to a Black lady and, and an immigrant as well. But I stood my ground and I said, no, you have to understand where this was coming from. They did all the research and I showed them. And eventually they changed that. So the bank went from this is a global bank, but went from reporting this transaction to not reporting it. And that's the role that we can play as we can actually play as women and as immigrants, and believing that we do not accept the bias that we have in the workplace. Now, currently, I'm my boss, and I can make those changes. I can make decisions for myself. So it's a whole totally different world. But this is where this is really huge, that those young ladies out there watching us, they can understand that when they stand firm and they believe that there's nothing like gender inequality, they will be able to attain whatever heights that they want to attain. So there's a huge difference right now, but it's been remarkable.
I agree with you. I think that there are huge differences from, working for someone as an associate or serving as a consultant and running your own practice. I think that running your own practice requires you as a woman, when you decide to open up your own firm, to really understand that you are no longer just an attorney. You are an attorney and you are a businesswoman, and everything that you do is for the interest of that business. Because you can be the greatest lawyer, but if you do not have clients, you are not serving your clients effectively. You're not doing good in the world. So you have to understand, and I think it's difficult for a lot of women to understand, to make that mental shift, to understand like, hey, I'm a great lawyer, but I also need to be a great marketer. I also need to be a great systems manager. I also need to be really great at HR and understand like what's wrong with the firm. How can I improve the firm? Both for in-house people, so your staff who's working there in the day-to-day, and also for the clients, like how can you enhance the experiences for the clients that are coming to your firm. And I think that a lot of the times women, I know I made this mistake when I was an associate. I know I focused a lot on developing high quality work product. Like I know that I was very, very focused on, being excellent at what I did. And I kind of did not develop the entrepreneurial spirit that I have now. So I think that, at the associate level, at the law school level, at the college level, I think women just need to understand that we need to be more entrepreneurial. And I think entrepreneurialism is more tied to like men, and it's more considered to be like a male trait. Oftentimes you will see like the man have his own company, but the woman will have like that regular cushy job to have the benefits for the family or whatever it is. But women can do it too. You have to understand that entrepreneurship is about risk taking, and women can take risks just as much as men can take risks. But again, I don't think that women are groomed for entrepreneurialism. I don't think that we are taught that as associates. I think I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Isabella who said, when you're working with men, they kind of expect you to like do the legwork, or maybe you said it, Chinello.
Yeah.
Do the legwork, and then they will benefit from the results. And we're so accustomed to doing the legwork. It's very normal because we want to do well. We want people to rely on us. We want those accolades, that sometimes we forget that, having a business mentality, especially when you're running your own firm, is paramount. I would argue having a business mentality as an associate is equally important as well.
That's right.
Because when you develop your own book of business, then you become valuable, and other firms want you because you're making money for those firms.
It's true.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, I think, like I said, a lot of law students and a lot of young women, I think they know that there's support out there. I think it's important for them to see see themselves and see that this can happen, that you can work in-house in a big bank, even if you're not from New York or not from America, that you can, move from New York and go to Miami and work there professionally and enjoy what you do. And you can leave a completely different country, like, Isabella did, and start up your own company and, revert and pivot, have different clients, just like, Louisa pivoted as well. We're a little bit over time, but can each of you leave 2 words of advice for someone who's watching? Isabella, do you want to go first?
Yes. Well, I'm thinking that everyone should be the creative director of himself or herself in this case, because if I did this career change in my late 30s, everyone can do this. So you have the most important thing, I think it is should be aware of your value and learn from the mistake and ask for advice to someone who is older than you or is working in the field where you are developing your profession. So this is the most important thing.
Louisa?
Well, I would say never stop advocating for yourself, regardless of what the situation is. The workplace challenges, always advocate, and supporting one another is really important. And one thing that I've found is that we should also be open and honest about our challenges and struggles, because we can't make it seem all nice, and then people are not learning. The young ones there, especially the females, we have to be open about that so that they can learn from our mistakes and learn to be able to handle the challenges better.
Chinello?
I would say it's never too late. So if you're watching right now and you're 18 or you're 50, it's never too late to go after what you want. As long as you're still breathing, you can get it accomplished. And also to stay true to yourself. The legal world is not for the faint of heart, and so remain grounded in your beliefs and your morals, and I think you'll be fine.
My advice is very simple. Take risks, make mistakes, and do as much as you can. Be hungry to learn, be hungry to fail, be hungry to meet people, be hungry to network, be hungry to read books. Just learn and make mistakes and take risks, because it will lead you to the path that you're meant to be on.
That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for watching on TikTok and also on Instagram. Thank you for the panelists, for everyone watching. These are 3 very, very busy women, and I'm so happy that they took the time to be on this panel and to share their experiences as women in the first week of Women's History Month. And I'm sure that you learned a lot about cross-border transactions with Isabella, with financial crimes with Louisa, and with how to be a successful associate and be happy in your firm through Chinello. So thank you guys for being a part of this, and I will see everybody next week for our second roundtable.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.